Okay. It's all finger guns.
And we need Mark's Trumpian finger guns. That's so close. Just smack her around.
I really can't do it with my left hand. Like, my left hand won't make that motion.
Does your wife have something she wants to tell us on the podcast then?
I'm right-handed. Got it.
If I can't do it with your left, none of practice.
You should still be able to do it with both hands.
No.
This is what women look for in a guy. That's we do a firm handshake.
Right.
And we see if you can flex the fourth finger on both hands.
Well, I can flex it. It's just I can't I can get the claw hand.
Baby. So what if you're in a cast or something?
Right.
Foreplay's just out the window.
Yeah, forget about it.
Are you just smacking her with your cast or
that's just
hitting her with your claw?
Here.
Honey, you like this.
Yeah, you love it.
You like it. Just
smack
them around. I will tell people why this is probably funny later because we have a guest who is listening to all of this. But, this is how we roll. Yeah. So, welcome to Scotch Sporting. We have our usual crew, Chris, in wherever his house is called. Studio B. Mark in his place. Tyler in headquarters. Some sort of typhoid health wing. I am Tay in my house, the Rabble Stack. And we have a guest. Yay. We're trying to get back into having a guest. This is Dave Petrie, who runs a sports blog. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Thanks. Thank you so much for joining us. Dave has a lovely sports blog, and I will be asking you to recap a couple of your articles for us. petriesports.wordpress.com if you would like to check them out. But we have you on because you attend soccer sometimes. And
I go to about 4 or 5 CFC games a year, including on Saturday.
That's fantastic because we thought we were going to have Tyler and Katie, two people who went to the game, but Katie has decided watching Tom Brady lose to the Ravens is more important than being on this podcast.
Yes.
So I hope she listens to this back and rubs it in my face if I'm wrong, or just texts me swear words if I'm right. So I wanted to start our podcast with TFC.
For the first time ever.
For the first time ever in Scotch Sporting history, we are on episode 94? 93. So after 93 episodes, this is the first time we are leading with soccer.
Yes.
So tell us about the fan experience because it was cold as hell.
It was pretty cold, but I think I dressed appropriately. Like I had thermal socks on, 2 pairs of pants, 4 shirts, a jacket, gloves, a toque.
Actually 4 shirts.
4 shirts.
Actually 4 shirts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like what kind of shirts?
I had 2 long sleeve t-shirts, a Under Armour sweatshirt, and a t-shirt underneath all of that.
Just cause.
Just cause. Why not?
You should have had a long sleeve shirt under the short sleeve shirt.
Sure, I should have.
Yeah. What's a short sleeve shirt doing as the base layer?
It gets your core.
It gets the core. I feel where he's coming from.
Then wear the tank toppy undershirt. Dave, what were you wearing?
Tank top under there.
Yeah.
I was not dressed appropriately at all. So I actually didn't have tickets until day of. So I was out at a bar, and funny enough, someone had read my blog, and in the comments I was whining about not being able to get tickets on Ticketmaster. And someone offered me a free ticket. So I was in the end zone in like the general admission area where you stand behind the net. But a free ticket's a free ticket, I'll take it. But I wasn't dressed well at all, so I just completely froze. But, you're in Canada when one person's got an extra toque and they give it to you, and one person's got an extra scarf and they give it to you. So I survived.
And did you turn to our good friend alcohol to stay warm?
I did, absolutely.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Tyler, you as well?
Oh, yes.
I can only imagine the line to that Bailey's and hot chocolate booth was out the stadium.
Oh, I'm sure it was long. I stuck to beer. And as you predicted last week, I did have more than usual. I believe it was 5 throughout the course of the game. So
well, something had to make it exciting.
Yes.
So the game itself, a thriller of a 0-0 game,
where one team does not even get a shot on net.
And I think I forget who said it on the 590 today, but soccered itself this past weekend with a 0-0 draw and going to extra time and then going to penalty shootout, and the team who did not have a shot on net wins.
Was they didn't? I feel like they lost their way to the championship.
Yeah.
Well,
then
played,
TFC just lost slightly more.
Yeah, they played not to lose, and then
right.
Yeah.
And they're a bunch of cowards, apparently, like Hope Solo says.
Right.
Oh yeah, the TFC complimented Seattle's game because they were like, they didn't want to win, they just didn't want to lose. Like so was it exciting being there? Because on TV it was a little bit like, how many Soda Crush lives do I have left?
It was pretty exciting being there. The crowd's pretty nuts, but I think people could figure out pretty quickly that this was going to be low scoring. And that's kind of MLS is great because even though the quality is not nearly as good as Europe, there's like 5-6 goals a game because there's tons of defensive mistakes and stuff like that. So we didn't get that. And I think people kind of figured out even like 30 minutes into the game that this was going to be 1-0 at best.
So was there tension then because of that? Or was it kind of like, just do something?
It was like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
there were a lot of chances, and then that last attempt just fell short. Like the cross was into the defenders, or it just took a bad bounce, or the one time the goalie made
one amazing save.
That one amazing save.
That save was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Ridiculous. There was no way he should have ever been able to get to that. But kudos to him. He won MVP for the game.
He's Stephen Fry, not the British actor Stephen Fry, was so terrifying looking. I thought for sure he was German, but it just turns out he's Swiss. Dave, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot at all, but you have on your awesome blog a TFC for beginners. For those of us who might not know, can you quickly recap the TFC for beginners? Because I think we have you on.
I did it because I wanted everyone to hop on the bandwagon. I went around the city. I live in Toronto. Went around the city looking for a bar to watch the semifinal game at, and there was almost none showing it because they were showing nothing Raptors game instead. So I'm like, I got to get the word out here. So basically, just wrote a quick blog. It's TFC been around for about 10 years, and the first 8 don't count because we were just all kinds of terrible. And, the fans have been amazing through it. All of the crazies that go to the South End have been great, but they haven't had a lot of winning to cheer for. And then between 2 and 3 years ago, they made 3 huge signings. Michael Bradley, who you would have seen running around with the bald head.
He is bald. I also thought he had an accent, but I think it's just a lisp, and he's American.
Yeah, he's American, so he's been taking a few knocks to the head too. So
he's got a bit of a weird, faded W's instead of R's kind of voice, and I was like, no, you just have a lisp.
Yeah, so they signed him. They also signed Javinko, who is the biggest name in the MLS. He was signed out of Juventus, so he's good. Hilariously, when you see him, he doesn't look like anything. He's tiny.
No, he's whatever the size you can be. That's the one up from being a little person.
Yeah.
Like whatever that height requirement is to qualify as a little person, he's just above that height. Like he needs an adult to accompany him on most rides at Wonderland.
Yeah. And he's just he's better than half the league. He won the MVP, or he's better than the entire league. He won the MVP last year. He should have won it this year, if not for being injured for a couple games. One of the people at the game asked me, why does Javinko get fouled so much? It's because he's that much better than everyone.
Because you step on him without noticing.
Pardon?
You step on him without noticing.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, he took a couple elbows to the face just because that's where people normally run at. And then the third one you would have seen is Josie Altidore. He's the big guy that plays up next to Vinker. He's the one that almost buried that header that Fry made the amazing save on.
Also American.
Also American. Well, there aren't enough good Canadian players to have, so we've had to get some Americans on board.
Oh yeah, I'm totally fine with it being American. I just thought with a name Josie Altidore, for sure, he was somewhere slightly exotic. Nope, Jersey. So thank you for the excitement. I also am a proud Torontonian, and it's been fun as a proud Torontonian and a CFL supporter seeing the kind of lack of giving shits for the CFL and the Grey Cup being here, and then like, yeah, get this over with, the MLS Cup's coming. So that's been fun. I have you on, so we all know shootouts are stupid. So my big question for everyone, and why we have two soccer experts on our show today, what is the alternative?
Golden goal, man. That's it. Golden goal. Play till it's over.
But in this, neither team scored in overtime.
Yeah, and then so you keep playing.
I agree.
What
play
did
to win the game.
We said this before, where because the problem with soccer is you can only substitute 3 guys or something throughout the whole game.
3 guys, yeah.
So every I think we had said like every 15 minutes you get another substitution, and then that alleviates the guys will be dead tired. Well, okay, that you can start subbing guys out. And this is only in overtime and only in a championship game. You can do your aggregate scoring till you get to the championship game, but a championship game should not be decided on penalty kicks. It was disappointing because I actually watched this game. This is the first MLS game I've ever watched from beginning to end. And Toronto, the field was tilted. It was always in Seattle's end. And Seattle never looked like they were going to score a goal, not once. Toronto had, I would say 4 really good chances. And it looked like, given enough time, they would have cracked it. And that's my problem.
So you guys that were there, Tyler and Dave, would you have rather lost like that or a blowout?
So I'm going to say something that will ensure I never get invited back.
My hand is on the hang up button.
Shootouts. I watch soccer all the time, and when it's Champions League or World Cup or MLS, whatever, MLS Cup, the most exciting thing is when it's going to a shootout. I love it. I can't get enough of watching them. They're amazing, especially when someone completely blows it. And I know that right now it sucks being in Toronto for that, but normally they're insanely entertaining. There's nothing worse, if I have to use a hockey analogy, there's nothing worse than a triple overtime 1-1 or 0-0 hockey game. It's insanely boring. Soccer would be that much worse.
I could not disagree more. When there's a 1-1 nothing hockey game in triple overtime, every bounce matters, every line change matters. There's so many things that could change, could end the game. A shootout is one guy versus the goalie, and in soccer it's even worse because the goalie has to stand on the line and basically I'm jumping left this time.
It's a guessing game.
It's a guessing game.
I'm trying to play moderator in this and not indicate directly how I feel. So, part of it is, I also find shootouts exciting, both in soccer and in hockey. I think they're fun, but I don't like them because they're not normally part of the game. So aside from if there's some crazy major penalty, then they'll do a penalty kick or a penalty shot. But so to decide the game on something that isn't normally part of the game confuses me.
It's an individual thing rather than a team thing. You're playing a team sport, and now you've taken it out of the team's hands and you've put it squarely on individuals.
Now, Tyler, as a goalie, I'm sure we asked you this in Euro Cup because this reminds me of Portugal losing their way to the finals.
Yes.
tying their way to the finals. Yeah. And I really only started paying attention when they were playing Wales, and that was the only team they legit beat. Sad. So such a sad day. So for me, and please Dave and Tyler contradict, the goalie really has no chance in a shootout unless he just happens to maybe guess the right way. And so the only way a shootout is decided is when the kicker screws it up himself.
Yep.
Like the last guy who shot for Toronto who bounced it off the crossbar.
Yeah, you'd think you'd have no chance, but if you like, it's the MLS Cup, right? You know it's going to extra. You know it's going to PKs. As a goaltender, at about probably 10 minutes into extra time, you kind of have that feeling that it's going there, and you're already starting to prepare yourself. Now, as a goalie, I don't like them because it's all on you. Right?
I never blame the goalie though, because
who would earth would stop a team game at the end of the day?
The goalie blames the goalie, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about it, everybody has their shot. They're not going to change it just to screw with you, because if they change how they do things, they'll miss.
Yeah. So as a goalie, your chance is knowing that player and knowing Baldy.
Yeah, exactly. If you know the player,
left.
And I think that's why Bradley's shot got saved, because Bradley has taken penalties before for Team USA,
and he just adorably kicks them along the ground.
Yeah, a goalie for the TFC before?
He was, yes.
So, Dave, why do you like shootouts? Aside from they are exciting.
Best team to win, then you need to go all the way to what the Premier League does, which is just have a regular season and then that's it. There's no playoffs. There's just a winner, and that isn't. It's just boring. Like the best team wins. Yeah, it's not exciting. Like North America, we like our playoffs. So if we're gonna have playoffs, then you might as well have a really good ending to them, and that's why I like shootout. They're so entertaining, and otherwise we could have been there for another 2 hours waiting for a goal to happen. Like they had
but that's the exciting part of the story.
I missed both of what, and I think everyone else did too. Just sounded like brah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Just but is it weird that a game was decided and a team that won, who didn't have any shots on goal, ended up winning because the goalie guessed left and you shot right? Does that bother you, or it's like, normally it's exciting? Like, this was the last game of the season to crown the champion, and the team that won just didn't lose as much as the other team. Or are you like, you take the good with the bad in terms of shootouts?
Yeah, that's how I feel. You take the good with the bad. I mean, if the best, remember, Toronto was a 3 seed, Seattle was a 4 seed. The best team was Dallas, right? They weren't even in the finals.
Well, that's the beauty.
Should have won. It should have been Dallas. Yeah. But they weren't there because of this playoff system they do. And so you take the good with the bad. You want this entertaining playoff system, and we got it. I mean, the series against Montreal was amazing, and unfortunately, this is the bad end of that.
Well, I think you have to have a definitive end, and that's what my question is if you take away shootouts, I don't know if you could have a definitive end in soccer. Like in hockey, the rink's small enough, and you can drop it to 4-on-4, drop it to 3-on-3. Eventually someone's scoring, and it probably won't take too long, aside from that weird Pittsburgh Stanley Cup game from 7 years ago that went to 47 overtimes. And football, you switch possession, so someone's going to kick it before the other person. Basketball, just put but soccer, I don't know if there is anything you can do that will stop the game in a reasonable amount of time.
I looked it up, and before they went to a shootout, it would either be a replay, so they would get together a week later and redo it, or it was a coin toss.
What?
Sorry, say that again.
So they would, one of two things. So this is like soccer as a whole, not just MLS. they would replay the game. So a week later, both teams get back together and play another game.
You start from scratch.
It's
aggregate
tied.
scoring.
So,
Okay.
well, it's tied. So
Right.
what does it matter?
That was a joke. I'm sorry. Sorry.
God damn it. Or the other option was a coin toss.
A coin toss.
Yeah.
You might as well play dodgeball then.
Hey.
We're getting there.
It's better than coin toss. I'm just saying.
We're getting there. We have breaking dodgeball news, and we're getting there.
A shootout.
Who gets to call it? Who gets to call it in there?
Exactly. Well, they have a coin toss for who gets to call it too.
I got in a pretty big argument on Friday. So we did one of those gift exchanges where you can steal the presents.
Yankee swap.
And it was, pardon me, Mark, there were a lot of Asian people there.
Pardon me.
And it was going to be, you can do a shot to defend your present. But most of the Asian drinking curse people were like, no, we can't do that. No. So they decided on rock, paper, scissors. And we got in a huge argument, like a couple sides of people who were like, is it 1, 2, 3? And you go on 3, or is it 1, 2, 3, shoot?
Go on 3.
No, it's 1, 2, 3, shoot. Okay, we're taking a quick Scotch Sporting poll. Mark, is it 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, shoot?
1, 2, 3, shoot.
Tyler?
I have played both ways. You decide before you go.
What's your go-to way? You're like, you're doing it right now with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. You shot.
3. On 3.
Oh, okay, Dave, you're the tiebreaker. Sorry, pal. Put you on the spot.
I'm 1, 2, 3, shoot.
Yeah!
I'm out.
Chris, it's a more better way.
No, stop it. Can someone hang up on Mark, please?
We'd like to welcome our new Mark. Dave is now a permanent member of the podcast. So, like, if you implemented a system of a golden goal in soccer, do you think Seattle would have played differently? Like, did they play defensive knowing they had a 50-50 chance in a shootout? Like, would both teams have played? Yeah, me too. Would both teams have played completely differently if it was a golden goal situation?
Well, I think even if it was golden goal, like when they actually did golden goal, it was still 2 15s, and if nobody scored, it went to shootout.
But I think knowing, so if I was a coach,
if you kept going and like if it was just a 15 after 15 after 15 and whoever scores wins, then obviously you're changing your style. But odds are if you're scoring the extra time, you're probably winning.
That's true. Dave, is there something you can do in soccer that isn't a shootout that could like quickly decide a winner or in a reasonable amount of time?
Well, actually, MLS used to have something. It's a shootout again, but it's more like the hockey shootout where they would start players on like the 30-yard line. YouTube like 1996 MLS shootout, and it's hilarious. But
then the goalie gets to leave the line.
Gimmicky than the current shootout.
Yeah.
You have to just drop players. That's the only thing I could think of. Go to 9-on-9 or 7-on-7. That's the only way that I can even think of.
And that seems so silly because of the size of a soccer field. Like, I wouldn't want to make it harder for people to... I think we'd almost see less goals because people would be like, fuck, I don't want to fucking kick it again. I'm just going to stay back here. Huh. So unless maybe you allow substitutions. Tyler, as a goalie, would you go back to old-timey MLS way? Like, I'd almost rather give the goalie a bit more of a chance. Because to me, it's more exciting to see him stop it.
I think as a goalie, you might have a better advantage as if you're running out to stop somebody.
Yeah.
Like they have to control the ball. All you have to do is get a foot or a hand on it.
Can they not leave the net in MLS?
They can't leave the line.
You can't leave the line until the ball is kicked.
So I want to give the goalie a sporting chance. And that might make it more exciting.
It looks absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, they all look silly, and when they stop it, they just happen to.
Right, but I believe it was like hockey, and you couldn't stop the ball. Right,
Oh.
so
Okay.
the ball had to keep moving. You couldn't stop and then go around the goalie.
Right.
That's okay. I think that works, and I think
You're
I think
done.
Harley agrees.
Yeah, Harley
Yeah, I
definitely
think she
agrees.
does too.
So I have another question for you guys. Why doesn't the MLS Cup have a name? I know the literal trophy has a name.
Yeah, the literal trophy has a name.
Like
What's
the
it called?
Lombardi trophy.
Yeah, it's called the Philip F. Anschutz Trophy.
Okay, and who's Philip F. Anschutz?
I have absolutely no idea, to be totally honest with you.
Dave, do you want to make something up?
I have no idea.
He was the first guy who invented the netting. Yep.
Okay.
Founder of the MLS?
Yeah. No.
No,
No?
he invented
That's
the netting.
Christopher
I like it.
MLS. Why doesn't the MLS final have a name? Why is it just the MLS? Because to me, it felt like it's the generic name that you say when you don't have the rights to say Stanley Cup or Super Bowl. You're like, it's the football finals.
Well, the NBA already has the finals, so I guess you can't take that unless it's not trademarked.
Yeah,
whatever.
No, because
There's no
Mark
reason.
makes a good point.
I mean,
the NBA Finals is kind of boring too because it's NBA Finals. Like that's boring.
right, but and even MLS's website, like the URL. So if I were to ask you what MLS stood for, what does it stand for?
Major League Soccer.
Okay, guess what their URL is for their main site?
Major.
It's MLSsoccer.com.
Oh, because MLS is a real estate thing, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's MLSsoccer.com. So it's Major League Soccer.com.
You're not helping. Remember the argument we had last week about real deal championships? You're not making the case any
You pushed
Or
stronger.
maybe they spell soccer with two S's at the beginning.
Right,
Maybe.
it's a silent
That's
S.
Soccer.
Or you say it like a snake.
Yeah.
Soccer.
Okay,
Maybe.
I had another question for you guys. After Beergate, we talked about this last podcast. After the guy was vilified in the city of Toronto for hucking the beer on the field in the year before with the stupid woman who brought her damn baby. And you watch soccer and people are flinging streamers
At the players.
and not only throwing them on the field, but like they have some sort of retractable device to get them back to throw them again.
No, they just bring that many streamers with them.
I saw one woman like wheel it back. Maybe she was just super cheap.
They do that every game.
Spotty next weekend.
They do that every game.
And how is this allowed?
Because the MLS loves it. As long as it doesn't go on the field or actually make contact with the player, they don't really care.
What if it makes contact with the player?
Then something might be
drops like a knife. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I just got shot. Grabbing his face. Hit him in the leg. He's grabbing his face.
Well, the one time the LA Galaxy came to Toronto with David Beckham, and the game was at the Rogers Center.
Instead.
Yeah, the game was at the Rogers Center, and somebody threw a beer at Beckham.
Good.
Like can?
Don't
Bottle?
throw a beer at David Beckham.
Can.
Shut up, Chris. Aside from his stupid high-pitched voice, he is very good looking.
Okay.
And he's a good dad. Seemingly. So could I is it frowned upon by soccer fans if I throw anything else? Like what if I'm like, here comes my panties on a retractable string?
I mean, sounds like we need to go to a TFC game next year. I want to see that.
Yeah.
I'll bring extras. Or just Homer Simpson style, get them off without taking my pants off.
Yeah.
Is it a soccer fandom thing that I can throw anything? Or like it's only streamers and anything else you're like, you took this too far, man?
I think it might be you took this too far, man. It's
Dude.
only streamers. I've only ever seen streamers being thrown.
At a TFC game.
Yes,
I mean,
at a TFC game. That is true.
Oh, in Europe,
there's the
they
occasional
actually
player
throw
in the
machetes.
stands, but
Oh, that's just South America. That's
Wasn't there some in Austria where they did firecrackers?
Yeah.
Beside the goalie, he was on the ground
Yeah,
like
didn't he get hit? Yeah.
Firecrackers beside him.
Yep, he
That's
got hit by a flare. Yeah.
Yeah, you took that too far, man. We're streamers only. Like leave your balloons at home. Leave your confetti things you shoot off at New Year's at home. Streamers only.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your panties on.
No, not when David Beckham's around. Or little tiny baby Josie God damn it. What's his face? Giovenco. So do you have any other tips? How many other playoff sporting events in Toronto have you been to? Have you done Blue Jays, Raptors? Dave?
Yeah, I've done both. I was at the Blue Jays. That's game 3. Unfortunately, the one they lost to Cleveland, and the Raptors too. I actually went to the Raptors playoff games in the U.S. because they were super cheap, and hoping for some Leafs ones in 2000 and let's say 18.
Yeah, okay. So you're new, so this is a good time to remind you of the bet between Mark and Chris. For you and our listeners, it's whose team is going to win a Stanley Cup first. Chris's San Jose Sharks or Mark's Toronto Maple Leafs.
And I think we're both safe because we'll both die long before either one of our teams win.
So what's the best atmosphere of the 3 playoff games you've been to?
Actually, TFC by far. It's not even close. I mean, the Jays is last.
Really?
When the Jays are winning is fantastic, but if they're losing, the team goes quiet in a hurry. Whereas MLS, it's just crazy all the time.
Yeah, and that was the one thing I noticed is that they never gave up. And I mean, there was a lot of, like, especially when you were heading to overtime, like for me, the realization came in that Toronto, if they don't score if they don't score an actual goal, anything could happen. So, like, and the fact that they were still loud and still jumping and chanting and whatever the clapping thing they do, when they're still doing all of that. So,
I didn't. I mean, obviously, I've witnessed it, but I didn't think about that with Blue Jays. Like when the Jays are winning, there's no better atmosphere than being in the dome during the playoff game. But when they're losing,
mouse fart.
Yeah, and the guy hucks his beer on the field. Like
that's right.
Toronto fans, as one of them, are assholes. And when our team's losing, we turn on them. And it's fully, and I guess that's what you get with the bandwagoner fans. And maybe that's why the MLS atmosphere was so good, because there was no one there that wasn't a soccer fan. Did you get that? So Chris and I both just recently went to the Grey Cup. What? And there weren't a lot of people there that were just random, like, hey, I like sports. But when the Blue Jays are in the playoffs, and I think when the Raptors are in the playoffs, you get a lot of people that are like, go team, and bring their vintage pennants that they just bought from Urban Outfitters. Is MLS, did you get the sense there were any, like, just Toronto people that was the place to be?
A few in the final, but up until the final, no, it was hardcore fans all the way.
Well, that's good. And only a few in the final is good too. Like, it was hard to get Jays tickets. As a lifelong Jays fan, it's hard to get playoff tickets because you have the people that, hey, they're winning, I'm going to go to games now. And that's I try to swallow that bitter pill because, like, I remember the shitty alternative of being one of only 10,000 in the dome, and that's almost worse, but anyways, did you guys have any?
It's, they were bad for 8 years, and the fans were still bananas. So, and if you get a ticket during the year, they got pretty expensive at the end when everybody was on the bandwagon. But in the year, you can go for $20-$30, and if you sit near the south end, you get to hear the crazies all game. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, and that's why I try not to be bitter. And we've talked about this on the podcast before with Blue Jays and bandwagoners, and I'm not a Leaf fan, but when that happens, it's going to be insane. I try not to be angry because the atmosphere that everyone gets swept up in is so amazing. But a tiny little part of me is like, where were you in 2003 when, like, they had no one? I was almost going to say we. So did you guys, Dave, just in case you stick with us for the rest of the podcast, which I do hope you do, the rest of today's recording, we take a drink every time you we bomb. So refer to the team as a we or an us. So if you do not have a drink in your hand, I highly recommend getting one. Would you stick around with us while we talk about other sports?
Sounds good.
Uh-oh, we might have lost Tyler.
There we go.
So
No.
I would love to move on to football because I think we got a lot of football stuff to talk about. Dave, guest of Dave Petrie PetrieSports.wordpress.com. Sorry, I had to pull that up again, which everyone should check out. Do you have a favorite NFL team?
I'm a Packers fan.
All right.
That's exciting. And lifelong Packers fan?
Yeah, I'll say since I kind of jumped on the bandwagon when Favre was there and they won the Super Bowl, like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a bandwagon if it was 15 years ago that you jumped on.
Yeah.
You're not a bandwagoner anymore.
No, you're safe.
I am a football bandwagoner. I jump around from team to team and I can't decide who I love.
Who is it this week?
I don't want to talk about it. It's the Vikings this week because they actually won. So I grew up in a very fractured NFL household of my dad just loves football, so we just had any game on, so I never had a team. So I tried to get into Seattle, and I do like them, but Russell Wilson is just a goddamn dandy. And they lost to the Green Bay Packers.
They haven't won in Green Bay since 1999.
Wow.
Woo! What's this?
Including that infamous Matt Hasselbeck game. We're going to get the ball, we're going to score.
That's a great game.
Russell Wilson threw 5 interceptions against the Pack this week.
He's not used to the cold.
Oh, is that what it is?
His delicate girl hands can't handle. He's just so, like, say this as a woman. He's just so womanly, and no women are attracted to womanly guys. So I did like him. This week it is the Vikings because they won, although the Jets also won, but they won without Fitzpatrick, so I don't want to talk about it.
They also beat a very, very bad Niners team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Niners are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I assume, Dave, you're around our age, so like being a Packers fan makes sense because they were good when we were discovering our football womanhood, manhood.
Yeah, it's been easy to stick with them too. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is amazing. Well, the Packers this year are frustrating. When they're on, they look like a contender, and when they're terrible, like against Washington, they look like they're the Browns.
Yeah.
Well, not that bad, actually. I take that back.
Hey, great segue. Guest of the podcast. RG3's back. He had his first game. I bet on the Browns. I added them to my parlay because I thought that the Browns are so bad they're going to be bad at setting the record or tying the record for losing the most games. Like I still firmly believe that they're so bad they won't be history making bad. They'll finally screw that up.
If they go win 16, the city's going to throw them a parade.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think we talked about this last podcast where the guy has booked the parade route and he's signed out. He's done all the permits, and there will be. But I think they're so bad that they won't even be able to lose properly.
Well, this is the only winnable game. The rest of the schedule is they can't do it.
Yeah.
Even Buffalo?
Even Buffalo. If it snows in Buffalo again like it did this past Sunday.
Yeah, and Buffalo's not a bad team. They're not a good team, but they're not a bad team.
They'll at least rush the ball nonstop.
Right.
How long is Rex Ryan keeping his job?
End of the
He's
season.
safe for the season.
I think he's good for the season. Although I heard that he might get fired today, but that didn't happen. So
No, instead he just threw Tyrod Taylor under the bus.
right.
You think I'm bad? You should check out my quarterback.
Yeah. How are you gonna win games with this quarterback?
And Tyrod Taylor's good, and he was a feel-good story because he was a guy that was a backup for a long time, and then.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: if the Ravens can win the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer as your quarterback, there's no excuse.
Hey, he's the Monday Night Football commentator now.
Oh yeah.
So
or if he can win a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, like, dead.
Yeah, Peyton Manning's slightly warm corpse.
Yeah, have you seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's? This was Weekend at Peyton's.
This is Weekend at Bernie's too. Just not even the good one. You want to talk about Deflategate number 2.
I do want to talk about Deflategate number 2 because here's the thing. So, if the NFL has
fill us in first on the backstory for those of us that might not know.
So, according to the Giants, last week the Steelers used deflated footballs, which, as we know, carries a $1 million fine for the team, a loss of a first and a fourth-round draft pick, and a 4-game suspension for your starting quarterback. That's the precedent that was set. So, if you're going to deflate some footballs, now you have to suspend Ben for 4 games and have to fine the Steelers $1 million, and you have to take away their first and their fourth-round draft pick. Otherwise, Roger Goodell, you're a joke.
Well, we knew that already.
Yes. So, is there going to even be anything about this? Because I think it's going to get swept right under the rug.
Well, the NFL already kind of seemed like the worst. Like, they released a statement, and this is a sidebar. It really annoys me in the world of Twitter when people release their statements that are just a screen grab of something they wrote on Notepad.
Yeah.
So the PR guy for the NFL released a screen grab notepad that was, to paraphrase, something like, "We don't have any formal complaints from the Giants, something." But it's like, well, no, they haven't formally filed it yet.
So are they just going to tell the Giants to shut up?
Apparently, the Giants notified the league, and they sent them the balls, like put them in a little glass container. Evidence, so that and they were talking about there's no chain of command issues here. The NFL said that in their statement, so implying that Tom Brady personally, with the Patriots balls, pierced them with his piercing blue eyes and deflated them. So I feel like the NFL's already trying to sweep this under the rug.
I think if you're a Patriots fan, you can't let this go. Like, and if I'm Robert Kraft, I can't let this go. Like, that's the biggest thing to me. I don't understand. Like, you know that he took the $1 million fine and the draft picks, thinking that, okay, just leave Tom out of it, and they didn't. So,
yeah,
if I'm Kraft and this comes out, I want fucking Goodell's head. You do the same, or I want your head.
Yeah. No, I agree. Dave, on your website, you have a fantasy football hindsight article. I drafted Aaron Rodgers first overall in my first fantasy football draft. How do you think my team's doing now?
Well, Rodgers is the number 1 quarterback, so at least you're set there. But I guess the question is, are you the type that can waiver wire pick up your way through a season? Or did you just kind of not pick Antonio Brown or David Johnson, and now you're a world of struggle?
A little bit of both. I think I've had favorable matchups this year. We had a 16-person deep league, and I did have the first overall pick, and much to the chagrin of everyone on the podcast, I was like, Aaron Rodgers, and picked him first. My everything else situation hasn't been very good. Somehow I made it to the playoffs, where I am promptly losing. I made it to the playoffs on a technicality, thank you, Yahoo, that I lost, and then there was some stat correction to someone, and then I ended up winning.
Oh, wow.
I know, it's very exciting. I'm looking at
your favor.
Yeah, I'm looking at your running back pre-rank and sort of postseason rank. I don't have anyone on this list. Oh no, I had Eddie Lacy. He is dead now. That is all.
As is the Packers running game.
Of your top 10 running backs, both pre-rank and midseason, I have Eddie Lacy, who has died. Wide receiver, I also don't have anyone on your list. No. How did I make the playoffs? Do you have any clue?
Other than Rodgers being a hero, I have no idea. It's not too late. I mean, here's the fun part about running backs. They get injured all the time. So go pick up Bilal Powell, or I forgot his name, the Chargers backup, but you still got a chance. You can come fourth or something.
Oh, yeah, I guess there's still the Wiener playoffs because it is the Yahoo matchup, so I could still possibly check it out. Check out the Hindsight is 2020 look back on the fantasy baseball drafts if you want to be depressed about your team, which I am so much more now. We all saw Dallas lose yesterday. It was their second loss of the season. Second.
Both to the Giants.
Both to the Giants. Are they Jerry Jonesing themselves? Because he backtracked on his statements that we talked about last week of I will have sex with Tony Romo as often as possible, to is Dak Prescott your starting quarterback? Yes, he is. So are Dallas Jerry Jonesing, or are they legit?
I still think they're legit. You can't, like let's ask Patriots fans about the Giants. The Giants just have a way to win sometimes, but yeah. I still think they're the team to beat in the NFC. I really do. And
are they going?
If the offensive line stays healthy, then they're good.
And
Super Bowl bound?
I mean, probably.
Yeah. Tyler, your Broncos lost me out on $70. I bet too. I parlayed a couple games, and the Broncos games were the only one that lost.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the Broncos are going to lose out right now.
Lose out? I don't know about that. Well, what do we got? Oh, fuck. Yeah, we got Pats next week.
And then the Chiefs, and then the Raiders.
Oh, Chris just weed.
Oh,
Chris just weed.
Yeah. Okay. I mean... okay, so they could either lose out or they could win out and be like fucking champs.
Yes.
Well, if they do that, then they're champs. Yeah, absolutely.
They still won't win the division, though, will they?
Well, it depends on what Oakland and Kansas City does.
Is Oakland legit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the Thursday night loss?
Yeah, it's a short week. Give them a break on a short week loss.
Aside from the Patriots, I feel like the teams that have been dominating, like Oakland and Dallas, are all teams we're just waiting for their collapse that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Well, Kansas City usually waits till the playoffs.
That's right.
Patriots, it makes sense. Where I was like, yeah, it's fine. Patriots are winning, but then Dallas and Oakland, I'm just waiting for them to lose. I have no faith in them. Is anyone else getting echo?
Yeah, I am.
Switching to baseball, unless we have more football. Oh, Jeff Fisher.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
We did want to talk about that.
Jeff Fisher. Here's your extension. Oh, by the way, you're fired.
Just kidding, you're fired. Mark, you said the extension was actually at the beginning of the season and just announced now?
Yeah, apparently he signed it before the preseason. And apparently, I don't know why they didn't want to announce it then. But it was leaked last week that he had an extension, and that's why it came out.
Gotcha.
And maybe that's why he was fired, because they were like, oh, shit, we gotta...
Yeah, they probably signed it before the season started just because they didn't want him going as a lame duck, but they didn't want to announce it just because in case they wanted to fire him during the season, which was apparently, on their list, clearly, because now he's fired.
Because they did it.
Yeah.
Now act like I didn't make this joke before we were recording, but...
Works better if you don't say that.
Cut this part. Whoever's editing this.
No one.
Never. Okay. So Jeff Fisher has now tied for losing his coach in history. So there is no one who is worse at their job than Jeff Fisher.
Ever.
And he just got fired now.
No.
So how bad do you have to be at your job to get fired? And the answer is literally the worst.
Literally the worst. And, well, tied for the worst. They didn't want to let him actually be the worst.
Yeah. No, we won't. That's why I think the Browns won't lose, because it's like, we can't let you set the record, even if it's a very shitty record. I don't think the Browns are going to go 0-16.
They will.
They can't. They're bad at being bad. They're going to lose at losing.
Or like we said last week, or Katie did, they'll tie a game.
Do we want... Oh, I like that. Do we want a friendly Scotch Sporting bet, Mark?
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
I think you guys should bet Copacabana on it.
That's a lot of money for the Cleveland Browns.
All right, I'm just saying.
I don't even think the Cleveland Browns are willing to bet Copacabana on the Cleveland Browns.
They got they got Buffalo and the Chargers left. They could win
And
one
Steelers.
of those games.
Phillip Rivers is a gigantic dick, though, and he'll just be good super randomly
One game.
Just to spite them.
just to spite them. I thought the Bengals were their best chance. Now that that's over, I don't know.
Well, it was the Jets before that.
You take that back.
They had a 20-7 lead at the half, is all I'm saying.
I know, that was those were depressing alerts to get. So we'll do next time we see each other, a drink is on the other person. I think the Browns are going to lose at losing. You think they're going 0-16?
0-16.
Dave, what's your call?
I think they've left the
I
building.
think they're going 0-16. I mean, the Bills and the Chargers are both teams that are pretty good at blowing it, but I think they'll go 0-16.
When
Because
it's
they're both road games too. That's the thing.
when it's the Bills and Cleveland, and it's two teams that are really good at blowing it, who outblows the blower? That's one of those, like, when you need to, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it. If you need to clear your brain, just think about the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills playing each other.
Right.
And so we do our weekly plea for a Browns fan to please contact the podcast. Dave, if you know anyone, if you want to do this shout out on your blog, that would be appreciated. We are desperately trying to get a Browns fan on this podcast. We have one person that will admit to being a Browns fan. He refuses to be on the pod.
And he's going to the game of Buffalo next week.
So is my buddy. So I think I don't know if I talked about this last week. It's my friend's first NFL game ever. And he's A, going to Buffalo, so it's like, oh. And then B, it's against the Browns. First ever is Cleveland at Buffalo. So please tweet us, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you need to do. We need to hear from a Browns fan. Okay, we're getting some echo, so let's move on to baseball. That's a shitty segue, but I can't hear myself. Edwin Encarnacion, watch day number 6,728. He still has not signed. Mark Bunn, where is he signing and when?
It depends on what he wants to settle as a contract, because he's not going to get the 5-year deal he's looking for. He's not apparently getting the 4-year deal. Apparently the best he's been offered is a 3-year, $60 million. And if you look at all the other free agents that signed this year, only one person signed a 5-year contract. Everyone else has signed a 1 or 2-year deal. So unless he's willing to settle for a 1 or 2-year deal, no one's going to sign him.
Dave Petrie, same question.
I don't know. I'm not your baseball fan or your baseball expert. I'm still hoping for the Jays.
Yeah, the Jays are the one. So had they taken back their original offer?
Yes.
It's off
Because that original offer was before they signed Morales and Pierce.
Was anyone excited about the Pierce signing?
No. As soon as that happened, I was like, okay, so they're going to platoon first base between him and Smoke. That's the plan.
Yeah, now we posted in our Slack chat that Pierce's statement about he being super excited to be in Toronto. I really hate statements like that. The same as I hate statements in the offseason of, I really want to stay with Toronto. It's great there. Like, what else are you going to say?
Yeah.
Man, I signed in Toronto. They paid me the most.
I have a little more respect if he came and said that.
I hate this city. Fuck all of you. So Joey Bats inching closer to the Blue Jays, is that a reality?
On the very, very cheap, because the Jays wanted nothing to do with him. He serves no purpose in the outfield, obviously, and the DH spot is already taken by Morales, so where the hell else you put him?
Do you think Jose's going to panic and just sign with the Blue Jays for cheap?
I think he'll panic and just sign somewhere. Not necessarily just
He'll sign somewhere.
We apparently need to lose our guest. Our producer is texting me. Jokes, our producer's just Tyler. Dave, thank you for joining us. Would you join us again at some point soon?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. All I ask is, A, you plug us on your website and vice versa, Mutual Sporting Circle Jerk. And if you could plug us with the caveat of trying to find a Browns fan, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure. I'll find you guys one. You can hold me to that. I'll find you a Browns fan.
Need to find us one that is willing to speak publicly about it.
Okay. That I can't promise.
Fine.
There's
Okay.
only like 5 of them, so maybe one is okay with public speaking. We'll see.
You are feedbacking, so I think this is a good time for you to hang up, and we will hopefully see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. See ya.
And we awkwardly pause while he goes away, and let's talk about it now that he's gone. Kidding. I do thank him for sticking around and talking sports with us, especially when Chris went to go do some weird baby stuff.
No? Lindsay needed me to see a play in the Monday night game.
Oh, and Tyler went to do his 3 mid-podcast picks that he does.
Was it a Ravens touchdown?
No, it was a blocked field goal.
What's the score?
I don't know.
It's 2-0.
Okay, I took a lot of unders in this game, so that's bodes well.
And what is with this echo tonight? Awful. I think we should probably call it because it's getting fucking annoying.
People get to hear us twice. Yes, let's call it. Thank you to Dave, our guest. Thank you to Tyler for braving the elements. Hopefully Kate will be thawed from hypothermia next week. And will join us on the podcast. And we can talk about the Patriots losing.
Maybe.
I want to wait to talk about the Ed Hockley conspiracy theory when she's on, and once I find out the score of this game.
All right.
So thanks for listening. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that shit. Let's leave this echo blows all of our minds.